Hello and welcome to my thoughts on My Little Pony Legends of Magic. Wow, we made it. It's been over 1 year, but here we are, still not done. Yes, I am aware that there is one more issue in Legends of Magic, and I will get to it. But for now, we have finished the Stygian Siren arc. And that's what I'm going to be talking about today. Issues 7 through 12. Maybe I'll touch on 1 through 6, but for the most part, they are completely irrelevant. That being said, I think 1 through 6 are some of the best one-shot My Little Pony comics I have read so far, and I think they were great. Like, I actually might think that number 1 is my favorite comic so far. I greatly enjoyed it. But anyway, let's get into it. Legends of Magic number 7. Which I have titled The Siren's Call. It's a play on Siren's song and Call to Adventure. Did you get it? Probably not. It's pretty not intuitive. But it's better than no title. Take that, writers. Anyway, as is Legends of Magic tradition, we start off with Sunburst. Reading a book. Hell yeah. But this ain't no dumb Star Swirl book. This is a mysterious book that was left to him by a mighty Mr. S. Whoever could that be? It's Stygian. I love how the story starts off. But not the Sunburst stuff. I think the Sunburst stuff is annoying. It got pretty old in the first 6 issues. But I'm so glad that it's finally over after this issue. But I like how it sets off Stygian just kinda doing his thing. It does a nice job at showing us who Stygian is. He's not some mystical hero like the guys we've been reading about. He's just some dude digging for seashells. When suddenly the sirens appear, oh god, and he runs away. It's almost as if Stygian is not a hero. So he runs home to read some books, but he gets interrupted by some kid. You said you'd help with chores today. And then we go on a 2-page adventure of Stygian talking to some old pony and doing work for her. These are easily the worst 2 pages in this story, but they do have their purposes. 1, the big obvious one. It pulls Stygian away from the town so he can't get mind controlled. And 2, it gives us a glimpse into his mental state. Starswell seems to think sirens are dangerous. But just think of the knowledge they could provide. He is not perceiving them as a threat. He's just sitting here, chilling, not a care in the world. Until he gets home and is like, huh, that's odd. Where is Oh, and then there's the sirens. At his town, in control. This is all my fault. There was no way I could have stopped the Dazzlings, but maybe I could have warned every pony. Instead of sitting there, weaving baskets, smile on my face. Blinded by the pursuit of knowledge, he did not heed Starswirl's warnings. So now it was up to him to find a way to save his town. And by that I mean, delegate the task to some real heroes. Unknowing that he is starting his own hero's journey. What a classic plot outline. Honestly, this is a tale as old as time. But fortunately, this story does not take the hero's journey quite so literally, and is not a strict copy-paste. Nice. All of the elements are in place for it, but something just doesn't quite match up. Something like Stygian not thinking he's a hero, because he's literally surrounds himself with actual heroes, which constantly puts into place how much not a hero he is. He literally repeats to himself, I'm not a hero. I'm not a hero. I'm not a hero. This call to adventure is not my own. It is for the real heroes who will save my town. But in order to recruit them, he would have to face the nightmarish creatures that only heroes dared to challenge. But trust him, guys, not a hero. But anyway, Stygian finally makes it to Rockhoof's village. I made a very small art tweak on this first page. I recolored all of the narration boxes to a different shade of yellow because Stygian's normal narration boxes are in this pale yellowy color. But I didn't like the idea that Stygian was saying this. I wanted to say this as a narrator for fun, so I recolored them. Anyway, Stygian meets up with Rockhoof, But Rockhoof has a problem. Lumber bears are killing all of his fishies, oh no. But not to worry, Stygian gets the brilliant idea. Rockhoof, just pretend the river is lava! And then Rockhoof's like, you're a genius, Stygian! And then he digs a giant trench and reroutes the water away from the forest. The end. What an interesting problem that Stygian has to be the one to point out the solution to. How are Captain Stila and Rockhoof like, are you crazy? Digging a trench to reroute a flowing liquid? That's literally Rockhoof's thing, hello? Although Stygian's solution was quite obvious, this is probably one of the most important moments in this story. We are shown, right off the bat, who Stygian is. Despite Stila telling him to let the river go and leave Rockhoof behind, all he can think about is saving Rockhoof. I've got to save Rockhoof. I've got to try to get to him. His actions are already contradicting his words. I'm not a hero. And with that, there is one very important detail to keep in mind. This book that Sunburst is reading was not written by Stygian in the moment. These narration squares are future Stygian's reflection on his past, not his mindset going into this adventure. Where am I going with all this? My point is, it's cool how we get to see the decay of his heroism. How he goes from, I must go on this grand adventure to save my town, to, I am not a hero, but if I just borrow these magical artifacts for a moment, I could become as great as my friends. And when it's just him and Rockhoof on this adventure, things are great. Stygian's wisdom is a nice combination with Rockhoof's strength. They worked in tandem to save the fish from the bears, and when the two of them are fighting the bunnies and swamp animals, they're evenly matched for the fight, honestly. But now, enter Mage Meadowbrook, who solves her own problem. Stygian has very little contribution to actually aiding her. He makes an off comment, what if we run into an alligator? And that's all Meadowbrook needed to realize what the problem was. And with that, we end issue 8. And as we move on to issue 9, Stygian takes off his winter jacket and puts on his normal jacket in the 5 seconds before the bunnies attack. You know, since it was almost winter, so we had to dress warmly, so he put on his fuzzy potato sack. But from this point on, he never wears it again. And I think this is where Stygian starts to get into the mindset, I'm not a hero. As he has literally no clue what's going on. And Meadowbrook's just like, just throw random potions! Anything will do, I just need the extra hooves! The only thing Stygian had going for him, his wisdom, was starting to get matched. And his contributions to helping Rockhoof defend were basically negligible, as Meadowbrook was finally able to make the cure despite Stygian helping the bunnies break in. Even after the conflict, while our characters are relaxing, we can see how the dynamic has shifted. After Stygian fills Meadowbrook in about his Siren problem, and just before he reveals where their next stop is, Rockhoof interjects, can we eat first? And then we get an entire page of just Rockhoof and Meadowbrook eating, no plot relevance. And you can see how annoyed that makes Stygian. The fact that they are doing something not related to his journey seems to bother him, like, a lot. Like, he's not even paying attention to what they're saying. Oh, yeah, whatever, Rockhoof, sounds good. And then after this eating montage is our travel montage, where it is just Rockhoof and Meadowbrook talking to each other. Until finally Meadowbrook asks Stygian, you don't talk much, do ya? And he's like, yeah, I'm just worried about my town, ha 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 ha, but no, we can take these long eating breaks. He seems pretty pissed about the whole thing. And then enter the Pegasi Dragon War, where yet again Stygian seems to not be able to do anything. Honestly, this whole Pegasus segment's kind of a me. We just, like, Rockhoof's yelling at Grimhoof, Rockhoof's boasting how strong he is, and Rockhoof yells at dragons, and then Rockhoof yells at Flash, and then Meadowbrook solves the problem, the end. Okay. There, I just summarized 11 whole pages. There has to be some relevance to all this time we spent doing nothing, but it mostly just comes off as a joke. But anyway, once again, Stygian doesn't really help. He has actually nothing to do with solving Flash Magnus' problem. That task fell to Rockhoof and Meadowbrook. Like, just think about it. Rockhoof's wisdom was what saved the day. First it was Meadowbrook, now it's Rockhoof? Truly, what does Stygian bring to this team? A very important question Stygian will have to come to terms with. And with that, Flash Magnus has joined the team, and we're out to find Somnambula. On the way, Flash and Stygian have a very important conversation. I think there are certain elements that heroes possess that allow them to save the world. An analog of Star Swirl's very first lines. The best elements within us can spread light and virtue, and I know ponies who possess them all. This conversation with Flash Magnus shows both the depth of Stygian's wisdom and its limitations. Yes, it does indeed parallel Star Swirl's own words. Impressive. Until Stygian starts to explain it and shows that he doesn't really know what he's talking about.
Rockhoof is strong, and you, Flash Magnus, are very fast.
And Flash is like, I mean, yeah, I guess I'm fast, but I don't think that's really my big thing.
And Meadowbrook is connected with nature, and there's Starswell, of course, he's wisdom. And then this other pony's like, I don't know, soul, very soul magic-y. And then there's, well, I don't know what Somnambula's deal is, but she is very special for some reason.
Oof, that's an L, Stygian. At least Starswirl isn't here yet to highlight his shortcomings any further. And then the mummies attack, which I gotta say, what is a mummy if not a zombie wrapped in cloth? I don't know, apparently they're very different though. And once again, even though Stygian does give some context for what is going on, he is of no actual use to solving this problem. Well, I guess technically he does assist Flash Magnus with the wisdom to solve this problem. A lot of gems we used to use in our armor cracked when we flew too high, and then Stygian just has to bust it.
Well, actually, it's probably not the change in altitude, it's probably the change in temperature caused by the change of altitude. I'm not useless, I promise.
And then Flash Magnus scouts around for Prince Hisan. Meadowbrook picks a potion to crack the emerald. Rockhoof throws Somnambula as hard as he can. And no, Stygian, Flash Magnus can't just fly in as fast as he can and catch Prince Hisan off guard, because he's not the element of speed, he's the element of bravery. And then Somnambula throws the potion at Hisan, and then Stygian sits there and watches.
Good teamwork.
Even before we meet up with Somnambula, when the four of them are just fighting the mummies, Rockhoof and Flash Magnus rush in to fight, and then Stygian is all like,
well, Meadowbrook, I guess we'll just sit back and let them do their thing.
And she's like,
are you kidding? I'm a fucking hero. I'm joining the fight.
Oh no, poor Stygian. His entire world is crumbling before him.
And then Mistmane gets eaten by a plant, and we enter issue 11.
And this entire Mistmane segment is basically another joke. A big 15-page joke. That being said, it is amusing. But let me just summarize the important parts. After realizing that he's completely useless in battle, Stygian takes a new approach. He decides he's gonna be team captain.
Alright, ponies, the greenhouse is locked from the inside. Flash Magnus, fly overhead. Rockhoof, break that chain. Meadowbrook, Somnambula, look for other ways in.
And then everyone starts clowning around. Rockhoof spending hours trying to break this door down. Flash Magnus running into a building. Meadowbrook constantly getting interrupted. And Somnambula cheering on Rockhoof. Hell yeah, you can do it! Needless to say, Stygian's plan has failed. But don't worry, Meadowbrook's got a plan, and it works great. So Meadowbrook and Stygian trick the plants into letting them in, but poor Flash Magnus has a concussion. Don't give him too hard of a time. He has a literal medical condition that affects his memory. I put a little pop-up on screen just so you know it's not his fault. But he pisses off the plants and they attack, and then everything goes to shit.
And now with Meadowbrook incapacitated,
or hentied as I like to say,
Stygian puts on his hat.
Alright, Rockhoof, attack that big glowing pod! Aye, Captain! And meanwhile, while the rest of the team is clowning around, Rockhoof shoves his shovel in that plant's mouth, tries to pry it open, but he can't. Stygian, I need some help!
Finally, just like the good old days, when it was just him and Rockhoof. Yes, Rockhoof, I'll try!
And together they have just enough power to force this plant open and free Mistmane! A truly touching moment. Stygian and Rockhoof, side by side, being heroes together. And then Miss Main reveals that she was just casually waiting and there wasn't any problems going on. The plants were just sad and didn't want her to go.
And after joining the squad, Miss Main escorts the team to Canterlot Castle.
I do like Rockhoof and Flash Magnus's comments on the castle.
This could be the sort of place that really unites Equestria.
Never gonna happen. Pegasi are always gonna be on our own. A nice reminder that Equestria is a brand new nation.
And there he is. Star Swirl the Bearded.
And Stygian just starts fanboying. Oh god, I can't talk to him! It's the Star Swirl the Bearded!
He created amniomorphic spells.
And correct me if I'm wrong, this is a off-comment Twilight makes when she dresses up as Star Swirl for Halloween and Pinkie Pie's like, wow, nice clown costume or something. And then Twilight's like,
I'm Star Swirl the Bearded, father of the amniomorphic spell?
It's been a hot minute. I think that is the exchange. And because of that, we keep bringing up amniomorphic spells, even though I don't quite comprehend what amnio and morphic mean in combination. They clearly seem to refer to shapeshifting. Star Swirl brings this up later. Makes sense with morph, but amnio? Relating to an embryo or a fetus? As in amniotic fluid, which is the goop around babies. I guess if you want to twist it, you could force it to mean new? Cause babies and stuff? I don't know. I guess that's where they're going with amniomorphic. Anyway, completely irrelevant tangent aside, Stygian and Star Swirl have a fun little conversation.
I read your book on mystical creatures.
Really? Nerd, you read anything actually cool?
I read all of your great heroes.
What great hero stories is he talking about? Because it's not 1 through 6, because he doesn't learn about them until the next issue 12. Did he just write the original legends? Maybe that's what they're implying? I don't know. So Star Swirl asks, what did you think? And then Stygian goes off about how he didn't really write their personalities very accurately. Which makes sense, Star Swirl has never met them and he thinks they're mythical for all he knows. While this could just be a ha-ha funny bit, it could be construed to have a second meaning. After Stygian tells Star Swirl that he read his Guide to Mythical and Legendary Creatures, Star Swirl's like,
ah yes, an intellectual. What did you think about the great heroes of Equestria?
And then Stygian just goes off about how they're all his best friends and they're so nice and he loves them so much. It could be that when Star Swirl asked, what did you think? He wasn't just fishing for a compliment on his writing or the story of the book, but Stygian's thoughts on the elements of bravery, beauty, hope. But as we went over earlier, those aspects of his friends went right over his head. You know, the thing Star Swirl was literally working on when Stygian enters the garden. A nice reference. A relevant reference. I love the part where Stygian's like, what does the spell do? And Star Swirl's like, I don't know! After Twilight finished it, everything goes pew 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 pew, and then Celestian starts singing and bam, she's an alicorn, what? What does the spell do?
Anyway, here we are. We have finally made it to issue 12, the finale.
And we start off with Stygian's intro.
This is the tale of heroes of Equestria, however, I'm not a hero, blah 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 blah.
Does he write this every single chapter in his book? I do love the line.
As scholars so often do, I forgot the most commonly understood knowledge about the thing I was studying. You should never meet your heroes.
That's good stuff. And just like when Stygian met him, Star Swirl starts fanboying and forgets everything Stygian just told him. What a good excuse for a recap. I'm so glad we get to spend more time with baby Celestia and Luna. Like I said earlier, I really love just being with these three characters right here. Then Star Swirl meets back up with the gang and says something that really sends Stygian over the edge. Something like this can't last forever. Oh, look at that poor baby. He's so sad. I really like this part here where Somnambula asks Stygian a question, and then Star Swirl just pops in. It's both funny and symbolic. Now that Star Swirl's on the team, Stygian is truly irrelevant. Now it's time for the final travel montage. And Stygian's all the way in the back by himself. And when they finally make it to their destination, Star Swirl rips Stygian's captain's hat right off his head. Oh no. Oh man, that was the only thing he had left going for him. And then Starswell brings out his Pillars of Equestria theory. And then Flash is like, huh, Stygian, this is like that one thing you told me earlier, except Starswell actually knows what the hell he's talking about. But wait, he only named 6 virtues. What about Stygian? A question that Starswell takes very seriously. Celestia may describe him as a little cold, and the show may make him seem pretty hard, but at least in this portrayal, he sees value in Somnambula's question. He doesn't mind Somnambula challenging him, and he inquires on it himself. Interesting. I never thought there'd be a 7th component. Stygian, how might you factor into this? It's not really Starswell's fault that Stygian says, "Oh, I don't. I'm suck." And at the end of the day, he's absolutely right. He was not a required component for the tree or elements of harmony. I can't believe how much shade Sunburst throws at the end. It's like, whoa! I'll touch on that more later. Right now, it's time to fight the Sirens. Stygian is thinking small scale. We should start by removing the ponies to weaken the Sirens. And then Starswirl's like, yo, what if we just removed the Sirens instead? And then Meadowbrook's all like, Starswirl, I ain't killing them. No. Hear me out. I'm a fucking awesome wizard, right? I can literally open gateways to other worlds. I can just send them to a world without magic. They can just chill there. They get to live their lives, and we don't gotta take a risk on ours. Easy. And honestly, this is like the cushiest banishment we've ever seen. He's not gonna imprison them in hell. He's not gonna petrify them. He's not gonna seal them in the moon. We're not sending the Sirens to the Shadow Realm. They get to just live their lives as humans. I mean, especially since they only have one shot at stopping them. They really don't have time to see if they can talk them down. It probably is the best solution they have. So everyone decides to let Stygian choose the course of action, and he agrees with Starswirl. Cause I mean, last time Stygian wanted to wait it out and talk to the Sirens, they took over his town. I don't quite understand why Stygian's so hard on himself here. I sometimes wonder when I lost my way. When I accepted that I was powerless, that Starswirl knew better, and I chose security over hope. Specifically that last part. I chose security over hope. Wasn't that the point of this whole thing? In issue 10, he says to Flash, we need to cover all of the bases. If we run in half prepared, they may get control over us. What else do we need? I think there are certain elements that heroes possess that allow them to save the world. But here Stygian is now, regretting not solely depending on hope. I don't quite get it. For whatever reason, they're trying to parallel the Season 7 finale between Twilight and Starswirl. Why are they bringing this up all of a sudden? Stygian has not once depended on Talk no Jutsu throughout any of this story. Sorry, I just threw out Talk no Jutsu as if everyone knows what the hell I'm talking about. By Talk no Jutsu, I mean trying to reason with your enemy's heart and have them stand down. And I understand why they would try to add this angle into the story, like I said earlier, to parallel Season 7 finale, but it just doesn't really make sense that Stygian all of a sudden cares about this. Rockhoof has been shown to do this, with the Sharufe in issue 2, and with the dragons in issue, 10? And perhaps if Stygian's best buddy Rockhoof had tried to get Stygian to talk to the Sirens first, like he persuaded Meadowbrook to talk to the dragons, then maybe this would make more sense? But I don't know, it just feels like it subtracts from the actual main point, Stygian feeling lesser than his friends. And then bam, we fight the Sirens and wow, we win! The end. I do like all of Stygian's monologue at the end. This quest changed me. I had only ever wanted to study. I accepted that I was not a hero, but in all this time I spent questing, I never imagined I would be standing to the side while my friends fought my battle. I helped save my town, but I should be down there. That's what this story is really about. Shut up, Sunburst. Oh, you're basically Twilight. No, the story was never about that. I don't know why they tried to suddenly make it about that at the end. Oh, before I forget, I did make a dialogue tweak on this page. I just swapped Sonata and Arya's lines. Yeah, that's her name. Honestly, now that I'm looking at it again, maybe Maybe I swap it again. Originally, I had foul creatures to Aria, and I want to give the command to Sonata, but maybe I give foul creatures to Adagio. Let's do it, sister, to Aria. Maybe that's the take I do. Like, I just don't really like the vibe that the sentences are giving off. I don't think they relate to their characters very well. Yeah, I'm probably gonna do that. It's just a lot of drawing, and I don't really want to, but yeah, I will. I also made some Nebula's necklace here glowing, just for fun, I guess. I don't know. Oh, and I also changed Sunburst dialogue here. Originally it says, I am no hero, which is technically not the word Stygian says. He says, I'm not a hero, so I changed it. But anyway, story over, and Sunburst goes to talk to Stygian. And while I think Sunburst is a little overused in the first 6 issues, I think he is very well utilized in this Stygian arc. Until he starts going off on his tangent, that Stygian is just Twilight and Star Swirl is evil. It's like, whoa, slow down there, buddy. I actually kinda hate everything Sunburst says at the end. Not to go all, actually on you guys. Star Swirl misunderstood the elements of harmony.
What does this even mean?
Are we talking about Season 7 finale when he wanted to use the elements in place of the pillars to re-banish Stygian? That's the only time he's been in the same room with the elements. And he made the tree just fine, so clearly he understood enough about harmony. He discounted your contribution. Stygian discounted his own contribution. He didn't feel like he was good enough, so he stole symbols of his friend's power to try to make himself stronger. What, did he just, in the middle of the night, yoink rock with shovel while he was sleeping? He's your friend, buddy, just talk to him about it, Jesus! Like, no wonder Star Swirl's like, you evil fiend! Rocco's supposed to be your best friend, you can't just steal his shovel! He exiled you. Stygian broke his trust. Plus, it wasn't just Star Swirl. It's not like the other pillars tried to stand up for Stygian. Stygian was worried that no one would get his side of the story. Why didn't his friends try to get his side of the story, if they were actually his friends? This story does a good job at making sure Stygian and Star Swirl don't get too close. Star Swirl's the last one recruited, and he spends his travel montage getting to know the other pillars. But everyone else regards Stygian as a friend. Why didn't they care enough to get his side of the story? You can't be blaming everything on Star Swirl here, Sunburst. He also dumped those sirens into a world where they nearly took over. Doesn't that just prove his point that he couldn't change their minds? If they try to take over the human world as soon as magic is introduced to it, thanks, Sunsets. And it's not like Twilight was like, oh, now that I destroyed your crystals and you have no more magic, there's the portal home, you can leave whenever you want. She didn't care about them either. Now we get to the last thing Sunburst says, which I'm assuming when he says locked himself away, he's referring to banishing himself from the pillars and Stygian to limbo. That's what I'm assuming that's what this line means. I don't have anything really wrong with, besides, it's not just Star Swirl's fault, it's everyone involved's fault, including Stygian. Sunburst can't just be going around calling Star Swirl a villain, blaming him for everything. God, this video's been going on for like ever. Is that everything I have to say? I really did like the entirety of Legends of Magic. Despite whatever flaws it had, I definitely think it more than made up for it. This was a 6-parter. I definitely understand why there was some fluffy segments like the dragons or the greenhouse. It's nice that they found time for fun moments, even though the core of this adventure is very serious for Stygian. And it did a great job at showing Stygian's loss of faith in himself. Stygian's actions show that he's a hero, despite thinking the opposite in the end. But anyway, I think that's all I have to say. Let me know what you thought in the comments, and until next time.